Hello, welcome to the So Now What podcast. My name is Carrie and I'm coming to you from a small town outside of Portland, Oregon. And welcome. This is episode 12 and it is July 1st, 2016. And I want to welcome you. If you're new to the podcast, this is a podcast about knitting and quilting and general creativity. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. You have a lot of choices of podcasts to watch, and I really do appreciate that you choose to watch mine. We went camping, was it last week? Yeah, I guess it was just last week. I tell you, time just flies. So we headed out and went camping, and I really needed it, as you could probably tell from the last episode. And it was fabulous. We relaxed. We took a really nice hike. We didn't get as far as we wanted to get on our hike because of snow. So it's still too snowy up high up in the mountains, but I tell you what, it was a beautiful day. We just had so much fun, and I took some video, and there's some pictures and video that I'm going to add to the end of this podcast. So if you're interested in seeing some of Oregon and seeing what I love to do, you can stay tuned at the end and watch that. So you can catch me on Instagram and Ravelry, and I will put the information on the screen instead of telling you all about it. We do have a podcast group for the So Now What podcast, so please join. And we just finished up a knit-along, crochet-along. It was the Chemo Cap KAL, and it ran through the month of June. And I closed the thread last night and picked a winner chicken dinner. And I guess I'll just go right into that. So I closed the thread last night before I went to bed. And then the first thing this morning when I got up, I got on a random number generator and picked a number. We had 32 hats. 32 hats. I mean, you guys, that just makes me feel so good. I don't even know that I can put into words the warmth and the happiness that I feel that everybody participated in that. So I did the random number generator, and it picked lucky number 13. So lucky number 13 is Denise. And I tell you what, I want to give everybody a prize. I honestly do, but I can't afford to do that, unfortunately. So Denise is the winner. I did contact her this morning on Ravelry and let her know. And so she already picked what prize she wanted. So it was a choice between the monkey sock bag or the crazy sock bag. She chose the crazy socks, which will probably house more hats because she does a lot of donation hats, and that just is fantastic. And 2 balls of the Patton's Croy socks. So Denise, thank you so much. She made many hats. She made 6 hats. She had one that she was going to enter last night, but I had already closed the thread because I closed it before I went to bed, and I wasn't going to stay up till midnight because that just doesn't happen. But anyway, she happened to be the winner anyway, and it was very random. So I'm super excited. I'm super excited that she won. I would have been excited no matter who won. But there is a story that I want to share that Gail had shared on the chatter thread for the Chemo Cap KAL. And it touched me. It really, really touched me deeply. And she gave me permission to share this on the podcast, and so I'm going to read it from my computer right here. She was last weekend at an event called Arts of the Mountain in Silver Lake, Washington, and she was in a booth with her daughter. And she says she's often approached by people asking if she's in treatment because she wears her hair very short. And so there was another vendor that had come over and asked her that, and she got to talking to her about it and found out that this gal that approached her is going through treatment, and her hair was falling out and getting very thin, and she was going the next day to get her head shaved. And so Gail told her, come back, I'm making these chemo caps for people, and I want you to pick a hat. So the lady came back on Sunday with her head wrapped in a scarf. She had just had her head shaved, and I don't know if I can talk about this. She was able to give the lady a hat because of the KAL, because
she made hats to participate in the KAL.
So wonderful to connect with somebody personally. So often we make these make donation items and it goes to an organization, which is fantastic. They're great for distribution. But to be able to actually hand something you made to make somebody feel better, it's fantastic. Whew, sorry about that. Obviously, you can tell I'm very touched. So, big hugs. Thank you all so much for participating. I do plan on making this an annual KAL because how can I not? I really do. This is going to be an annual thing. So every June, prepare for it. I will be doing another KAL in October that I have planned, and I'll give you more details about that as we get closer. So hopefully you'll find that you want to participate in that too. So thank you again to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to talk about the quilt that's on the wall behind me. It's very patriotic, as you can tell, very red, white, and blue. That is a quilt I just quilted this week. That's the footage you saw in the beginning was me quilting it. It is a quilt that's being donated for an organization called Quilts of Valor. And I will put the link and any links or anything I talk about in the show notes below. Excuse me. And this was made by a lady named Carol that Quilts of Valor is an organization that organizes people who make quilt tops and people who do long arm quilting. And they pair us together to make quilts to donate to wounded soldiers that come home and are in the hospitals and things like that. And I've been quilting for Quilts of Valor since I started long arming back in 2005. Probably started in 2006, beginning in 2006. So I used to get paired up with people and they would mail me the quilt top, and my job is to provide the batting. They make the quilt top, provide the backing fabric. I provide the batting and do the quilting and then give it. And there's different ways you can do it. You can keep it and do the binding or whatever. I hate binding, so that wasn't something I was going to offer to do. So I would send the quilts back to the maker and she would bind it and you know, they go to Walter Reed Hospital. They go to different places. Through the pairing up, I happened to get paired up with this lady named Carol, and she lives here in Oregon. She lives on the other side of Portland in Lake Oswego, and so I've been exclusively doing her quilts because we don't have to ship them. It works out really well because when she goes into Portland and if she has a quilt, she drops it off at Jim's work, and he's my courier. And so she just drops it off at his office, and then he brings it home, and I quilt it. I'll email her saying, okay, I'm sending it back. And then when she gets back into Portland sometime, she goes to his work and picks it up and then takes it and finishes it and gets it off to where it needs to go. So this just happened to come in. I thought it was appropriate since we're heading into Independence Day, July 4th, for us in the U.S. It's very red, white, and blue around here right now. So this is, the style of the quilt would be, it's called a braid, a friendship braid or just a braid, and that's the way that you put the quilt together. This is considered a scrappy quilt, so that means it's all different kinds of fabrics. And so she just collects red, white, and blue fabrics and she cranks them out. She does several a year. So I just happened to have this one to quilt this last week, and so I thought it was a perfect backdrop for it. So if you're interested in donating your time or donating fabric or whatever, check out quiltsofvalor.org, and I will, like I said, put the information down below because it's a really good organization, and it really helps. It helps the soldiers that are coming back. So, so that's what's on my wall right now. I went camping, and then I got back from camping on Friday, and then Saturday I went with Michelle from the Naughty Nitwits podcast and our friend Lori, and they brought some other friends, and so I got to meet Marilyn and Flora and Debbie, and we took the train down to Eugene, which is a couple hours outside of Portland, south of Portland, and so we took the Amtrak train and went to the Black Sheep wool gathering, or it's Black Sheep Fiber Fest, or it's Black Sheep, something to do with wool. And anyway, so we went down there and it was so much fun. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw pictures that I posted about taking the train, and it was awesome. And we laughed and we had a great time, and it was so nice to go and do something like that and not have to worry about driving or traffic or anything. And we just sat and we knitted on the train, went and walked around, and shopped and did all the, vendor things, and then got back on the train and came home. And it was fantastic. I got on the train in Portland, and they got on at the first stop, which is like a half hour. It took about a half hour to get to the next stop. And then they got on, and I didn't know they were bringing the other three, and which was just super fun, because the more the merrier. We kind of took over the train car, but it was so fun. I had never been to any kind of a fiber event like that, and so it was really cool. I knew I didn't need to buy yarn. I knew I didn't really need to buy anything, but I still managed to have a few purchases. But I was really good. I think I was really good. So I'll show you that. I'll show you what I got when I talk about acquisition type of things. So super fun. I would highly recommend taking the train to something like that, because it just allows you to just relax. And we sat and knitted, and it was just great. So I appreciate them including me in that, and now I have even more friends in the knitting community, which is super cool. I'm gonna show you the works in progress that I have, because one of the works in progress is something that I did while I was on the train. So I had been working on my monkey socks, and those were getting close. Let's see, what was I was needing to do the heel. I think I had gotten to the heel, and I didn't want to do anything that I really had to concentrate on when I was on the train, because I knew I'd be visiting and distracted, and I just needed something just super plain knitting. Happened to just get a shipment, and that I ordered from Knit Picks, and I got some of the Felici yarn. The Felici sock yarn is the self-striping sock yarn that they have in limited quantities, and when it's gone, and doesn't come back till the next year. And I've never been able to get it before, so of course when it came out, I bought a whole bunch. So the one that I chose this is the dark side. This is a really nice yarn. I can see why other knitters like it. It's very soft, self-striping, and very affordable. I think each ball is like $5, $5.50 or something like that. So I cast it on Friday night. I was leaving Saturday morning. So just so that I could get it cast on and started. And this is what I did. So what I'm doing is I'm just doing a vanilla sock, just plain stockinette stitch. Sorry, there's a plane going over. I have my windows open because it's really nice right now. It's going to get hot later, but while I've got a nice breeze, I've got my windows open. Anyway, just doing stockinette stitch, plain vanilla sock, but every time there's the color change, I'm slipping every fourth stitch. And so then it's giving it just a little bit of extra texture to the changes. So I'm working on the heel flap. That's what I've got going now. So that's what I did on that Saturday during my train ride. So it was really nice to have something vanilla to work on, because I've been working on more patterned socks, and it was nice to just have something that I didn't have to think about, that I just could knit and just do nothing but knit. Every once in a while I'd forget to do the slip stitches, and I'd go back to grab them, but I think it gives it a really neat look. I'm doing 64 stitches on 2.25 millimeter, I think. Yeah, these are my highest sharps, which I think is 2.25. Doesn't say it anywhere, but I know that's what it is. In fact, yes, 2.25 size, US size 1. So I'm thinking that's going to be my formula, because I've slipped them on and it feels nice. What gets me is when I make the heel, because I have a higher arch and a higher instep. Sometimes that can get tight. And I'll talk about that when I show you my finished socks that I made. So that was super fun. I've got several colors of the Felice yarn. So I plan on making a lot of striped socks. I even got colors that I wasn't too sure about, but I thought, what the heck? It's just socks. I like wearing crazy socks. Another work in progress is my Pure Joy shawl. I'm getting pretty far on it, and I worked on it a lot when I was camping. I worked on my campsite shawl too, but it's slow going, so there's not much change in it. So this is where I'm at on my Pure Joy. I don't want to screw up. Okay. So anyway, you get the idea. I'm working on the last wedge of purple. And I have this yarn that I'm using, which was the yarn that I dyed when I went up to Blue Moon Fiber Arts and went to the dye day. This is their Cloud 9 yarn, which is an MCN base merino cashmere nylon, and it only has 400 yards. The pattern calls for, it says you're going to need a little bit more than 400 yards, like 430 or something. I don't remember, but I know that I was like gonna kind of be pushing it. I weighed what I have left, and I don't think I can do a complete wedge. So what I'm going to do, which will make it be a little bit smaller, but I might be able to make up some of the length in the border. Let me show you the picture if you don't know what that is. So here's the Pure Joy shawl. So you've got the stripes, and then you've got like a garter stitch border. I may make that bigger. So what I'm going to do is you make the wedges by doing wraps and turns, and I'm gonna go longer before I do a wrap and turn, so I won't have as many. So that way I'm not going back and forth as many times, and so that wedge will be a little bit skinnier. But it should work. We'll see. It should work. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to give it a try. I started doing it the way that the pattern called for, and I could just tell I'm not going to have enough of that purple yarn left. So by doing that, you do the increases on either end, and being that I'm not going to go back and forth as many times, I won't have as many increases, so it won't end up being as long as it would if I followed the pattern. So I'm going to see. I haven't gotten to the garter stitch border. I don't know why I'm calling it a garter stitch border. I haven't gotten to that part in the pattern, but I think that may still increase stitches. So I may make that a little bit wider because I've got a ton of the pink, because you don't use very much. It's just an eyelet row. So I've got almost a whole ball still of the pink. So I have plenty to make it big, but this ball's getting kind of flat. So I hope that works. You know, it'll look fine. It's just not going to look like the pattern looks, but it'll look fine. So that's what I'm working on with that. I'm trying not to work on it as much because that's what I want to work on. This sounds really dumb when you say it. I really want to work on that, but I really feel guilty that I have all these other projects on my needles, and so I'm trying to finish those off. So that's my kind of my reward knitting. It's dumb. I can work on whatever I want, right? So those were the two works in progress. Still working on the campsite shawl. I haven't touched the batad shawl, which gosh, that's been a few months. I need to get back to that. I was feeling a little over doing the welting on that one, so I gotta get back to that, but whatever. So I do have a finished object. I just finished it this morning, so wasn't able to enter it in the Cookie A knit along. It was the Cookie Jar Cal that Candace from Pin Feathers and Pearls was co-hosting, because I finished today and it was supposed to be done last night, but I just couldn't do it. So I finished my other Cookie A monkey sock. So here's the pair. You can see the difference in the colors better now. This was Fiber Nymph Dye Works. They're inversible. So this is gray with aqua stripes and this is aqua with gray stripes. They match but don't match. And I love them. They're a little snug on me when I put my foot in and hit here. So that's, I still need to work on. I think I need to make the heel flap a little bit longer, like a couple more rows maybe. But it's hard to know because this is a textured sock. So does that not allow it to stretch as much? Once they're on, they feel comfortable and they're fine. So it's just that getting that on and slipping that into that heel section ends up feeling a little bit tight. But they're done, and I can wear them when it gets cold. But it's not cold yet. So that's my only FO that I have because just because. I did participate in the bag swap that Shannon was, I guess maybe she was co-hosting it with, I don't know, another podcaster, I think. All I'm aware of is Shannon's side of it. She was having a bag swap that I signed up for, and I said I would go international because I thought I want something from somewhere other than here. And I got paired up with a lovely gal, Jeanette, and she was in Toronto. Gosh, how could I forget that already? I'll look on my computer. We were swap partners, and I guess it's not that important. She was in Canada, and just dropped a ball of yarn. So we got paired up and we connected with each other on Ravelry, and we decided that we wanted to also exchange yarn from something that was local. And so I picked up yarn when I went up to Blue Moon Fiber Arts because that is like about as local as you can get. And I made a bag for her and the yarn and sent that to her. And then I got a bag when I got back from camping. I got a bag from her and some yarn that she dyed. So she's dyeing at home, just starting out dyeing. And I tell you what, and so I told her, she asked me what base I wanted, and she offered merino cashmere nylon, and so of course I want that. I tell you what, she nailed it. Is this not me or what? It is so pretty. It's got this pink in it and this dark purple, kind of almost a gray purple. And she had sent me a message saying that she originally was going to dye it red, I think, and it didn't turn out the way she wanted, so she over-dyed it. But this is super perfect for me. So I'm really excited it turned out the way it did because I love it. I also know that I'm going to be using it because it's my color, and I already have a pattern that I want to make with it. And here's the bag that she sent me. She made a drawstring bag, which is so cute. It's Canadian themed, which I love. And I love it. So I got this bag and this beautiful yarn. I've been using this bag. This was my monkey socks were in here, so now I got to put the next project in here. So she did a fabulous job, and I love the bag and I love the yarn. So I guess I'll go into what I'm going to do. So there's the pattern out there that I'm sure most of you have heard of, and it's the Random Active Color. And I really want to do it. I like the look of it. I like the idea of it. So being that this is so nice and soft, and it's like really special because she dyed it for me, I want to do it with this color. And then I got into my stash and put together these. So, gosh, it looks terrible against the red, white, and blue. That is such a busy quilt. So this is, what is this? Mad Tosh in sort of a magenta, dark magenta, which really goes with this because, gosh, the way I've got it rolled, it doesn't have very much of that in it, but enough. And then this olive green that I got from Blue Moon Fiber Arts. Don't you think that those colors will go really good? Let me put them over here so you're not up against the red, white, and blue. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this yarn that Jeanette dyed for me and these other two skeins that I had. It all goes together really well. So these coordinate, and that's my Papa color. So I want to get started on that, but I really need to finish something else first because I can't just keep starting stuff. I guess I can. I can do whatever I want, but I can't. I really can't, because then it stresses me out that I have these things hanging over me. So that was super fun. It was a really great swap. She seemed to like the bag I sent her and the yarn and stuff, and so it was really a fun thing to do. I would do it again. So I guess I'll move into what's new. So when I went to the Black Sheep Wool Festival thing, I didn't buy yarn per se, but I bought roving and a drop spindle. So I mentioned before, way back, that I had gotten a drop spindle, just like a starter kit. And it was great because I had a spindle with the whirl on the top and one with the whirl at the bottom, and it gave me a chance to try both to decide which one I liked working with best. I liked the whirl on the top, and I really wanted one made out of Purple Heart yarn or Purple Heart wood. I saw the wood in a wood store when Jim and I were looking for wood to redo our kitchen island. And I'm like, I have to have something made out of this. And I had seen on Etsy a spindle made out of Purple Heart wood. And I thought, I've just been like obsessing about it. I really, really want this Purple Heart wood. So there was a booth that had a spindle. So there it is. Very simple in design, which is so me. But it's made out of the Purple Heart wood, which is so cool. So that's the natural color of the wood. I guess the wood will kind of tan out a little as it ages, and that's okay. But for now, it's perfect. So I started my spinning. I need to practice a lot. Since I already dug into the roving, this is part of it. So it goes from like deep purples to like a mauve to almost a burgundy. And I talked with the lady who dyed it and was in her booth, and I said, okay, I'm a beginner. This is what I'm dealing with. This roving that I got with this kit, the starter kit, I know isn't great wool, and it kept breaking. The fibers weren't long enough, and so she suggested a BFL. So this is a BFL. This is Greenwood Fiber Works. She is out of Utah. I'll put her information down below. So this is Meteor Shower is what the color name is. And she suggested it because it's a heathered BFL. BFL fibers are longer. So it should be easier for me to spin. So I played with it, and it keeps not breaking, but I'm drafting too thin or something. I don't know. It's got a really big learning curve for me, so it's slow, but I'm going to try and do it a little bit every day, and I don't know what I'll make out of this because it's going to go thick and thin and thick and thin, so maybe some gloves or mittens or something, but I don't know. I'll deal with that when I get down to the end of it, because for right now, this is all I've got. So it's fun. No, it is really fun. And now I have a pretty spindle to spin with, and I have some really pretty roving to spin with. And I try not to get frustrated. So I'll play around with it some more. Another thing I picked up, so I got the spindle and the roving, and then one other thing, so I did really good, is I picked up, I should open this. It is a shawl pin. And this was made by One of a Kind. She's out of Oregon, Candace Wilson, and I'll put her information down below. And she makes these shawl pins with out of ceramic. Oh gosh, okay. So, and it has this. Doesn't help if I put my finger in front of it. It has this almost reminds me of a bobby pin. So the idea is that when it goes in, because it's bumpy, it won't pull out, and then it'll just hold your shawl. So since I'm making shawls, I figure I need a shawl pin, and it's a bluish purple color, like a periwinkle, which is perfect. It like matches my room. So, and it's got a dragonfly stamped on it. So, yeah, really cool. So I'm excited that when I get a shawl done and it gets to be cooler weather and I can actually wear my shawls, I plan on wearing this. She had a lot of really neat designs. She had some bigger ones. She had buttons, ceramic buttons, and I don't know what else she had. So yeah, pretty cool. So check her out. Does she have an Etsy shop? She's oneofakindbuttons.com, so she's got just her own website. So that was really cool. I have had a couple of questions on the So Now What podcast Ravelry group, and I answered one of them on episode 10, and I lost a whole section of video that I recorded. I don't know where it went. It just disappeared. And so I answered the question in there. So I'm going to re-answer the question. And it's a question from on her Ravelry name and on Instagram and all that is Blue Yarn Always. Her name's Sheila. And she actually has a podcast. Oh, golly jeepers. What is... I'll look it up. She has a podcast that she does with her friend Debbie. Never Cast Off podcast. So her and her friend Debbie do this, their podcast, and they're fun to watch. So check them out. But she had asked me if I liked computerized or regular sewing, like for machine quilting. She said, I want to ask your opinion on free motion quilting. Do you prefer on a regular sewing machine or a computerized sewing machine? So the way I'm interpreting that question is about like long arm quilting. I don't quilt on a regular sewing machine. I tried that, which is why I ended up with a long arm. So when you quilt on your regular sewing machine, you have your quilt. So say you have your quilt and here's your machine, and you have to basically move the quilt under the needle. So to me, that's like, imagine you're drawing, you want to draw a picture, but you can't move your pencil, you can only move your paper. My brain does not do that. Not very well. It's like so backwards for me that I really struggled with it. And I have quilted that way a little bit, and it's super frustrating to me. So with a long arm, you've got your quilt and you've got your needle, but you're moving your needle. You're drawing with the pencil rather than drawing with the paper. So to me, long arming is a lot easier. A lot of people don't find that to be true, and it's just a matter of figuring out what works for you, and long arms are super expensive. But as far as computerizing, my machine does not have a computer. I don't want a computer. What I like to quilt because of the creative aspect of it. And to me, just putting a quilt on and punching, like I'll pick a program. And yes, I get that you've got to select the right thread. There's a huge controversy in the quilting industry about computerized, and not controversy, but a lot of discussion about computerized versus non-computerized. I don't want to feel like a sweatshop. So for me, be able to just crank out quilts. Put a quilt on, push a button, it's doing its thing. When it's done, you take it off, you put the next one on, it's doing its thing. That's not what I want to do. For some people, that's what they love, and they try and make a living off of it. They've got to crank out the quilts. I never wanted that pressure, and it's not creative enough for me. Plus, you have to deal with computers, and seriously, not my thing. Computers are not my thing. So I don't have a computer on my machine. I don't have a computer. Well, I guess my regular sewing machine's kind of computerized, but I don't ever use anything on it. So my long arm is an A1 long arm. You can put computers on them. The computers are almost as expensive as the machines are. It's just not my thing. I don't want to get involved in what the discussion is, but I like to express my creativity by quilting. And I do follow a pantograph a lot of times, especially now that I don't just do so much customized work. Like this quilt here, I did a pantograph, which you saw in the beginning of the podcast. And that's good for like those busy quilts. They're hard to see anyway. I mean, it's like almost impossible to see where you're going on a quilt that's this busy. And there's something to be said. There's certain quilts that just look better with that very even, everything looks exactly the same. But even still in that, I'm still guiding it. And so there's still going to be a little bit of a variation rather than everything being exactly the same. That doesn't probably make any sense to you if you're not into the business. But, so yeah, computerized machines are not my thing. And I couldn't justify the cost of them. They're like another $10,000 to $12,000 to add to your machine. To do the amount of quilting I would have had to have done to pay that off would have been way too much. So it wasn't worth it for me, but a lot of people do it. A lot of people love it. A lot of people love to have their quilts quilted with a computer because they like that exactness. It's just not for me. Another question I got was from Seattle, and asked what brand of sewing machines I have, how many do I have, and how do I use them. My main sewing machine that I have is a Pfaff Creative 1475. It's an old machine I bought basically at an estate sale. And I love it, and I hope it never dies because it's a good machine. It's like a metal, so it's before they started making everything out of plastic. I do also own a Janome. I don't know the number of it, but it's a lightweight, easy for me to take when I go to a retreat or if I take a class or anything like that. And it's a good backup machine. So like when my Pfaff was in the shop getting serviced, I had my Janome to step in. I also have a Singer Featherweight because it's just so cute and I love it, but I don't sew with it very often. I don't because it seems like as soon as I set it up for that, and it's only a straight stitch machine. It goes frontwards and backwards and that's it. Seems like as soon as I put that on, for some reason I need a zigzag stitch or something and I can't do it on that machine. So I do have it. I do like it. I thought I would maybe take it when we go camping sometimes, but I only did that like twice, I think. And it just wasn't like, I needed more space. It's like you got to have an ironing board and a cutting surface. And when I start a project or get into a project, I really spread out. So working in the trailer just wasn't that easy. What other machine? I have one other machine. I have my other, it's a Brother 1500, and it was the machine I started machine quilting with. It has a bigger throat. When I first started trying to quilt on a frame type system, I got a Hinterberg wood frame with this Brother. It's got a 9-inch throat, which worked fine, but it was super limiting. The Red Baron's flying in. So I still have it. It's a great fast machine. It's only a straight stitch machine. If I need something that for heavier duty, I'll break that machine out. If I do need to do machine quilting on a regular machine and not on my long arm for some reason, I will use that machine because that's what it's designed for. So, but I don't break that one out very often. And then I have my long arm. So mostly it's my Pfaff, occasionally it's my Janome, and rarely it's my Singer Featherweight. But it's always good to have backups. So thank you for asking the questions, you guys. Oh, and Seattle also asked if I was into machine embroidery. I don't have a machine embroidery machine. My Pfaff and my Janome have decorative stitches, but not embroidery as far as like the bigger designs. It's not my thing. I would never use it. As a long arm quilter, I hated getting those quilts into quilt because you use a stabilizer behind the machine embroidery and it's stiff, and oftentimes you got to try and stitch around this very ornate design, and I didn't like them. But they're very beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful things you can do with them. It's just not for me. I'm pretty straightforward, and I like the work to be done by me and not by my machine. So that's basically what it comes down to. But thanks for asking the questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. There's an Ask Me Anything thread in there, and I'd be happy to answer them. I may answer them in there, or I may answer them here on the podcast. I don't know. We'll see. I found a new podcast, Shauna Stitches, and she's from the Oregon coast. So I think it's super cool that it's another Oregonian. She's only got one episode up as of this morning. And so I'm anxious to see where she goes with it. She's got, this woman crochets the most beautiful blankets. I've never seen anything crocheted so beautifully, honestly. It looks like an ornate quilt, but it's crochet, and oh my gosh, amazing. I mean, I for one don't know how to crochet, so it's beyond my knowledge. It's beyond anything I could possibly ever think I could do, but gorgeous. She also used to do a lot of cross stitching, which I think a lot of us have. I used to do cross stitching back in the day, and it got to be where I couldn't see it very well anymore. And so I stopped doing it, but she showed beautiful pieces that she did. But her crochet, oh my gosh, she's awesome. So check out Shauna Stitches, and I'll put her link to her podcast down there. I think that, oh no, that's not it, you guys. It's sitting right here in front of me. How can I not see it? I'm such a goober. Okay, so I talked before about wanting to dye my own yarn. And I held off on buying anything, and I waited until I got back from camping, and Jim and I talked about it a lot, and he's like, just go for it. And so I got, the yarn came in yesterday, and the dye, all that, and he was going to help me with colors and stuff, because he, in his business, he works for a company that manufactures printing ink. So he, somebody would come to him, say, with whatever, we're going to offer this product and we're going to have a brochure or whatever, so I want to match this color. And so he comes up with the formula of ink that matches this color. And so, it's way more complicated than that, but that's just the gist of it. So he's super, super good with color. And so I got, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw, I got a Pantone book. And a Pantone book is a book of a gazillion, million, trillion colors, in every shade of those colors. And so I said, okay, perfect. Now I have this book. Let me show you this way, sorry. And I said, if I said, hey, I want this color, whatever this is, this green color, and can you help me get that if that's what I decided I wanted? So he's going to help me with that. Well, of course, the stuff came in yesterday, and I can't wait. So I jumped right in, as I do, and I got a couple skeins out, got them soaking, tried to figure out my own formulas, which I think I did a pretty good job. And so I dyed a couple of skeins of yarn yesterday. So they're pretty. They're not what I set out to dye, but that's okay. The colors, when I applied, I did the dyeing like I did when I went to Blue Moon Fiber Arts, where you paint it. You put the yarn down and you apply the dye right to the yarn. And when I did it at Blue Moon, I really watered down my colors because I was looking for softer colors. And so it was very watered down. So it blended. It blended more like watercolor did. And so I had more intense colors this time. And they did, when I put it on the yarn, it didn't blend. It didn't move. The dye went on, and where I put it on, that's where it stayed, and it wouldn't move to the other fibers, and it was like, oh my gosh, this isn't what I wanted to do. My goal for this one skein was to do a soft yellow and tonal and a soft gray. It's not what I got, but I think it's going to end up being okay. So without further ado, there's my first skein. It's a really pretty daffodil yellow. And I do have some variations, so it did end up turning out okay. And then my gray just turned out super intense. I did half and half. I don't know why, because I just did. And my idea was kind of sunshine on a cloudy day sort of thing. But the colors were way more intense than I hoped. But so what I think is going to happen, I think I'm going to make socks because I think I'll get stripes, which I think will look kind of cool. So there are variations in the gray. I've got some lighter spots and some darker spots. Another thought that I had was to maybe add more dye, like re-dye it. To maybe tone down the yellow. That's such a pretty color, yellow. But to make it so it's not just a two color, if I made some like oranges, and see, I can add to the yellow to make like oranges or greens. So I thought of maybe doing that, or just leave it and see what it happens. These skeins are pretty hefty. They're like 130 grams ish. So it ends up being 480 yards. So that's a huge skein. I don't know. You know what? Even though it wasn't what I anticipated it looking like, when it dried and everything, I'm kind of liking it. So not really sure what I'm going to do, but I think these could be fun socks. Almost bumblebee looking. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Should I over dye it? Should I leave it as it is? I don't know. So that's one skein that I did. One thing that I learned is that I had my dyes a little too intense. I needed to water them down more. And I think with more water, my dyes would have kind of blended a little bit better. But, you know, I live and learn, but it's still pretty. It's still really pretty. The other color that I did, I thought was going to be more denim colored, but it ended up being, it's really a beautiful shade of blue, kind of water blue. It's not the color I wanted, but it's still really pretty. So it does have some variations in color. You can tell these are big skeins. This one, I don't know if one of the ties came undone, but I was getting kind of tangled. So I have to straighten that out. But anyway, yeah, so it was frustrating and it was fun because I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't turning out the way I wanted it to turn out. But it was fun to try. So this could be a really pretty color with something else in a shawl maybe, because it's more tonal and there's enough of it really with, what did I say, 480 yards? There's enough of it to do something pretty significant. So this is 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon. So it's really soft. It's got a good twist to it. I like the yarn. I'm just not so, it's not that there's anything wrong with either one of them really. That wasn't what was in my head. But so now I'm like, okay, so next time I want to do, try something else. I'm going to water things down. I may try doing it more, not immersion. Immersion is when you completely dunk it in, but more when you're like, have it simmering on the stove in a pot and adding dye to it that way. I might try that and just see what it does. So, yeah. I gotta practice twisting my skeins. They're so big though, they don't really twist into a skein very well. So that was my dyeing yesterday. I should have stuck with purple, but it's funny because I feel like everything I do is purple. And so I try not to do purple because that's what I gravitate towards. So that doesn't make any sense probably, but if I didn't do that, everything I have would be purple. So that was my dye day experience. So, stay tuned to see what else I might get into. Jim was like, you should have waited for me. And I said, I'm okay. I mean, I think the colors were fine. It was just when I applied it, the fact that it didn't move was throwing me. You live and learn, and now I've got some fun yarn. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. I do have just a brief shop update, and then at the end is the video of my hike that I did when we were camping in Central Oregon last week. So if you're done and you don't want to see the rest of it, thank you so much. And if you're going to stick around, let me show you the few things that are in my shop. So I showed these on Instagram, but I just show them here. So I've got these two, one with the green zipper and one with an orange zipper. And this is a really good size because it holds, I got to put the zipper pulls on still. It's got a beautiful batik inside with the pockets, but it holds a lot. So you can have a couple of sock projects. You can have a good size shawl project. That's two of those. That's 900 and something yards in there. But it's not like super big. It's a really good medium-sized bag. So I've got, like I said, I've got the ones with the orange zipper have more of a rust bottom. The ones with the green zipper have more of a burgundy colored bottom. Another bag that I have these bags with the purple kind of Zentangle-y. God, that looks bad on that. I'm going to go over here because it gets the red, white, and blue. It looks horrible. This is a real pretty grapey purple. And inside is black and white coordinating fabric. And they all have pockets. So those are in my shop. That's all I've gotten done because I got a little distracted. So anyway, that is it. I'm pretty sure that's it. Until next time. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Come subscribe because then you'll get notified when I do another one. I try and do every 2 weeks, but I might do more often. I might do less. I don't know. We'll see what happens. If I've got a bunch of dyeing stuff that I want to share, because I've got to tell somebody sometimes, I may do one more often, but it's usually every couple of weeks. So if you hit the subscribe button, then you'll get notified when a new one comes up. And then, yeah. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, again, for making the chemo caps. I super appreciate it. And so until next time, thank you, and I'll see you later. Bye. Happy knitting. Okay, I don't know if you can see Three Finger Jack behind me, but that's Three Finger Jack. It was right about here where we had stopped in 2014 to put on rain gear because we were getting sleeted on. So as you can see, today is gorgeous. I just passed another hiker and she said there's some snow making it impassable here in a little bit, but this is Three Finger Jack we're coming up on. Did you find the snow? Did you find the snow? Yes. Oh, you love it.
That is so cute. Look at that.
this is the end of our road. We are snowed out. We can't make it any further. We've gone about 5.5 miles. We're at like 6,500 foot elevation, about something like that. Jim's checking. 6,300 foot elevation. So too much snow still at this time of year. But Three Finger Jack is just right through those trees. So we made it a long ways. So now we got to start heading back downhill. Crossing the snow's been really tough. Slow going. So yeah, so that's our hike. Pretty good.
Yeah.
There's back home.